During that time, Dr. Anders Holiday was approached by my person as commissioner to assist in advising for what we termed then a win-win-win situation as we were going through problems with the turnover tax and the central government. And he put forward a proposal that I successfully was able to negotiate with the late Prime Minister Poirier. I know I'm being indicated it's 5 minutes, but I borrowed some time from the other members who are not here. I just texted them and they said it was okay with your permission. It is impossible for me to capture over 30 years of experience or some 25 years of experience with Eugene Holiday in just 5 minutes. After the referendum, he served in the Political Steering Advisory Committee for the then commissioner, specifically the commissioner, but for the minister, for the council of the Executive Council in general. And after the then chairman, Roland Duncan, resigned, he took on the leadership as chairman of the committee and served to the very end. And I know we are pressed for time, but permit me still to share one little piece of history. And usually they say what you discuss with the governor, you can't discuss in public. But the good thing is he was not the governor then. On our trip back from the Netherlands after we had successfully completed the major part of the negotiations, we were on the plane, the group of St. Martin delegates in 2010. And I was saying, well, hey, we have completed this journey successfully, and I thank you all. I said, it is now up to me to go back to St. Martin and compete for what I hope will be my job if the people would allow me to be their first prime minister. I say, but all of you get the opportunity now to indicate what you would want to be. And specifically to Eugene Holiday, I said at the time, well, I know what I have resolved for you. You will be the director of our first central bank, of our central bank. He said, no, sir. Been there, done that. And for me, it was like a slap in the face of disappointment. And I said, you don't want to be director of the central bank? He said, no. I said, so what do you want to be? He said, one thing and one thing only, the governor of St. Martin. And to me, it was like, really? I immediately put pen to paper. I put his name forward. And 12 years after, we are saying farewell to Governor Holiday, who served us with distinction and honor. And really, Madam Chairlady, please bear with me, and I'll take one more minute, and I'll stretch that minute. I can't recall the countless meetings I have had with him as faction leader for many years, but more so as well as minister, deputy prime minister, and prime minister. And we used to talk for so long that instead of scheduling me on the days that other faction leaders or ministers would come, he would schedule me on a day by myself. Because when I go there for 2:30, we would be there until 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the night. And Marie-Louise would call sometimes 3 times to remind him that they have a dinner appointment somewhere. And I would tell him, please, a happy wife, happy life, so go home. Dr. Anders, Eugene Holiday, and Marie-Louise, it is my pleasure to say farewell to you and to thank you on behalf of the people of St. Martin.
You have served St. Martin with distinction, with honor, humility, consistency, and integrity. These are words that we keep hearing over and over, and it must be true. Your love and respect for our people is undeniable, and that is why the people love and respect you in return. What I have come to realize is that actually it is not the person taking up a position that makes them honorable. It is a person's honor and character that makes the position honorable. And that is what you have exemplified for me, Mr. Governor. Thank you once again for your 12 years of impeccable service and dedication to this country. I wish you continued success in your personal and professional life, and may God continue to bless you and your family.
12 years starting at a time when you nor anyone else of us knew exactly what would be expected of us. Nevertheless, you stood it through. And today, we can truly look back and say thank you. Thank you for the service you have given to this country. Thank you for having built this country and the office of Governor of St. Martin. Oftentimes it's said at occasions such as these that your successor will have big shoes to fill. I want to paraphrase that and say that is not necessarily the case in your case, but the steps that you have taken, the solid steps that you have taken, those can definitely be followed by your successor. And I am sure that will offer, we all know it's him, much comfort in knowing that that path has already been made. But Governor, so much has been already said with respect to your office, your time in office, and your service. But for me, the time that you spent before taking office in pursuit of the status of country for St. Martin is what for me stands out. Those who were not directly involved would never understand what it took to remain committed for so many years to see the country St. Martin. So I can just imagine what it felt like that first day as governor representing a country that you fought so hard for. So today I say to you, thank you for your service. Thank you for the many, many discussions that we have had. Thank you for the challenges that we have withstood and the hurdles that together we have overcome because of our belief in St. Martin and its people. A special word from me goes out to Mrs. Holiday. What a role that you have fulfilled and allowed His Excellency the Governor to carry out his duties on behalf of St. Martin. Of course, we never know what happened where we could not see, but to the people of St. Martin, you were the embodiment of support for someone in a function that required so much of him.
As a member of Parliament, I've had the honor, despite of COVID, meeting with the governor as a faction leader for the PFP faction, where I tried my best to get as much as I could get regarding how we look at discussions with the Netherlands, discussions about financing. As you know, his background led me to believe I could get that much information, but he always remained very cagey, and I get it. It was very political talking to a faction leader. But that is where my quote comes back. Greater is the art of ending, because now I look forward to the continued service that MP Westcott spoke about, in service to St. Martin as a young parliamentarian, now without the blockade of governor in front of him, to pulling from that wisdom, as I believe all of us must continue to do.
I came here today to say that I have mixed feelings. On one hand, it's like, I'm happy that the governor is leaving, but I'm extremely sad that the next one is coming. And then I say to myself, no, Chris, it's the wrong approach. I'm not going to speak about the office, but about the person. And is there someone more endowed with the spirit of goodness and love for his country than anyone else? Than His Excellency Dr. Anders Eugene Holiday here today. I think not. I was trying to put it in perspective in terms of moving towards the love for his country, and my colleague MP William Marlin did it for me. So today, to everyone here and the people of St. Martin, I salute someone that is unblemished. When he started at GEBE, according to my colleague, unblemished. At Winair, unblemished. The Central Bank of St. Martin, unblemished. Governor of St. Martin, the airport of St. Martin, unblemished, a record that no one can question. Yes, I have issues with the office because of the representation. But I listen to everyone, and I'm saying this to you today. There is no hanging up. Live a life and live a good life and live it long. Because the next time we come here to inaugurate you, it will be because you're going to be the first president of the Republic of St. Martin. So I salute you, Your Excellency, Eugene Holiday. And they say, behind every good and successful man, it's a magnificent woman. I salute you both today, Dr. Anders, Eugene Holiday, and your wife. Thank you very much.
I oversaw and guided the formation of 7 governments. 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. And 3 interim governments, 2015, 2018, and 2019. Some of the most contentious moments during my governorship often came following the fall of governments and the call for early elections. The 2012 fall of government was baptized the Carnival coup. The 2013 political conflict was dubbed the Mexican standoff. I established a panel of judges to resolve the constitutional crisis following the 2015 fall of government. My decisions to ratify the call for early elections by the government in 2017 in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma and by the government in 2019 were called into question by officials on both sides of the Atlantic. In that regard, I wish to note that the right to vote and be voted for is a democratic standard. It is one of the most sacred rights in our parliamentary democracy, and it is our greatest obligation to provide the opportunity for voting to take place. Looking back, I cannot imagine that there is anyone who would say that the political discord and partisanship of the past 12 years is the standard we want for our political process. As a country, it is our obligation to self-correct and steady the political ship as we journey into the next phase of our country's development. An obligation that calls for us to rise above the narrow confines of our individual interest to the higher and broader concerns of our society. This realization is critical because it seems that too often public and private policies are driven by politics and factors other than those that are in the interest of our people, the people we all, I am convinced, we all love. In addition to the issues of instability and/or continuity in government, my second term was characterized by the impact of Hurricane Irma, and the ongoing impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The magnitude of both crises resulted in the need and declaration of states of emergencies, including a hard lockdown of the country in the case of COVID-19. The damages caused to our infrastructure and to our financial and economic foundation are substantial. They have weakened the financial position of businesses and households and left our government cash-strapped. And the effects are expected to last for a long, long, long time to come. These two crises are game changers for our country. They emphasize the vulnerability, the limitations, but also, and maybe more importantly, the resilience of our people and island. Three factors which we should draw from to build a stronger, more sustainable St. Martin. These external shocks reminds us of the urgent need to take stock of the challenges, risks, and threats to the sustainability of our nation. Critical in this regard are the education gap, poverty, climate change, energy transition, and digital transformation, among others. Issues which I have highlighted through my governor's symposia to encourage development of a cohesive national strategy, a standard necessary for the long-term development and viability of our nation. Considering the global nature and external linkages of the issues mentioned, it is essential that our national strategy focuses on strengthening existing and creating new partnerships within the kingdom and in our region. Partnerships based on the understanding that global challenges require inter-kingdom and transnational solutions. We must therefore continue to seek to broaden our geopolitical scope and to foster deeper relations and cooperation with our regional neighbors and partners. Throughout my tenure, I have, as a result, made several official visits to the United States and various Caribbean neighbors, from Trinidad in the south to the Dominican Republic in the west, to foster geopolitical and trade ties. It is my hope that these and future actions will result in St. Martin's participation in the OECS and the CARICOM. In the face of our challenges, I have seen the flaws of our country, but have been gratified to see that there have always been people ready to roll up their sleeves to find solutions and a path forward. Too often, that factor of St. Martin is not emphasized. In the face of political discord, there were always politicians ready and willing to move forward to find solutions. Persons who rose to the occasion to perform their civic duty, to organize fair and orderly elections where our people would go to the polls peacefully, thereby providing the foundation for the functioning of our parliamentary democracy and for our progress. As I indicated in my acceptance address, we would have to build critical institutions from the ground up. Today, anchored on the hard work of our dedicated professionals, we have reason to say that we have made important strides forward. Encumbered with the challenges we faced, we tend to overlook. We tend to overlook the progress we have made. It is in those moments that I remember our men and women who every day suit up to keep this country running. Our civil servants, our police officers, our teachers, our firemen, our nurses, our doctors, our supermarket workers, our garbage collectors, and yes, our politicians, and many others. If there was any doubt as to who constitutes the backbone of our country, COVID-19 reminded us. Because of them and others, I can proudly say that St. Martin, my St. Martin, our St. Martin, remains one of the best places in the world to live. That is not to say that all is well and that we do not have more work to do to secure the welfare and well-being of our residents. It is instead to say that we must aspire not to be one of the best, but rather to be the best country in the world to live. And it is to remind us that behind every corporate and public sector decision, someone is being impacted, and with that, the quality of life on St. Martin. In charting our path forward as a people, it is essential that we have a full understanding of our history and heritage. In 2012, I was therefore proud to affix my signature to the national ordinance to declare Emancipation Day a national holiday. It is the celebration of the freedom of all the people of St. Martin. It shows the courage of our people to face our complicated history. It is a symbol of our love for freedom. It is a moment in our history very worthy of commemoration and for all St. Martiners to stand and get behind. Looking back on the past 12 years, I reflect with pleasure on our observances and celebrations of Emancipation Day, St. Martin Day, the National Day of Prayer, and the National Thanksgiving Day, when we joined in friendship and unity and reflect our St. Martin spirit and nature. In my acceptance address 12 years ago, I stated, my fellow St. Martiners, it is my conviction that a bright and positive future lies ahead if we can develop a people-centered vision for St. Martin. I still hold that conviction. Today, 12 years later, we stand at a transition point in our young history as a country. We are witnessing a changing of the guard as my successor, Mr. Ajamu Bailey, prepares to take office on October 10th, 2022. In doing so, we can look ahead with and build on the experiences of the past 12 years. Madam Chairlady, members of Parliament, to the people of St. Martin, I wish to remind you that our nation is as good as we are, and it will go as far as we take it. We know what worked and what failed. We know that political instability, ship jumping, and putting personal over public interest failed us. We know that unity, solidarity, and cooperation served us well. We know that our systems of checks and balances served us well. Let us therefore embrace the future with that knowledge and stand together. Let us support and stand behind my successor. In closing, as I said on October 10th, 2010, Marie-Louise and I set out with you on a new journey into uncharted waters. In those 12 years, a lot has happened. It has been my honor to serve you as your first governor and thus constitutional head of government on behalf of the King. A true privilege as a son of the soil and patriot to help build St. Martin in its formative years as a country within the kingdom. I have been able to perform my duties thanks to the support of many persons over the years. And to all of them, I hereby extend my sincere thanks. I considered calling names, and then I said, don't go there. In particular, I wish to publicly thank the staff of my cabinet, members of my extended cabinet who I could always call on, the members of the Governor's Transition Committee for their tireless work, the civil servants in government who I have been able to count on, the chairpersons and members of Parliament, the prime ministers and ministers who I've worked with, my siblings who were always there in the background, and you, the people of St. Martin, your interest kept me inspired. Finally, I'm grateful to my wife, Marie-Louise, my sounding board, my right hand, my confident and most valued support. And after all is said and done, I know that I made it through by the grace of the Almighty God, because as the first governor of our new country, most things were a first for me and for others as well. And history will show that on several occasions, St. Martin broke new constitutional ground. And I always turn to God for wisdom, courage, and direction. And he never failed me. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless St. Martin and protect its coast.
Thank His Excellency for his Governor's farewell address.